Hello, and welcome to the newest tier list. Psychic is a type with a lot of fan favorite Pokemon, and is overall kind of a fan favorite type. So, if there were ever going to be a tier list where I made a lot of enemies, this is probably going to be the one. So, let's jump right into my controversial takes with Alakazam. Alakazam, I think, if it didn't have such good stats, would not be as popular as it is. Like, if Alakazam had the same stats as Hypno, then people wouldn't be super into it. They would just be confused and put off by it in a lot of cases, I think. Because it's such a really weird and confused design. Like, there's the frustration that comes with catching an Abra for the first time in games. It teleports away on turn one, so you can't weaken it. You just have to throw a Pokeball and hope for the best. And then Kadabra just like randomly gets a spoon out of nowhere, and it's kind of Fox-like, kind of Bug-like. Like, it's a psychic Pokemon, I guess. And then Alakazam, because it's a trait evolution, 90% of people that I knew couldn't ever actually use it in a playthrough. And it's just two spoons now. And normally you would think, Kevin, don't you love when Pokemon have mustaches? And I do love when Pokemon have mustaches. But I think Alakazam really just doesn't do it for me. Again, I don't think it would be as popular as it is if it didn't have really, really strong stats. But because battle power isn't taken into consideration at all in this tier list, I can't rate Alakazam highly. I just genuinely can't. Hypno, I did kind of just use it as a negative example. I find Hypno significantly creepier than Alakazam. Like, I find Alakazam to be like kind of a confused and weird design. I find Hypno to be like an off-putting design. I kind of like Drowsy. I think Drowsy has a lot of good aspects to it, and like Tapirs, the animal that they're based on, are kind of cool in real life. But I don't know, just the hypnosis pendulum that it carries, it's just, I don't know. And like, with the Pokedex entries and everything, it's implied to be sort of like insidious, like it like leads children to their deaths so that it can eat their dreams or whatever. It's just a little bit creepy. And both Alakazam and Hypno suffer from like being a little bit too humanoid. Hypno especially just feels like a guy in a really weird mask. I'm not a fan. Mewtwo, I know what I just said about not being so popular if it didn't have such good stats, but I think that Mewtwo specifically looks like a very strong, artificial, genetically engineered kind of Pokemon. Like, you look at it and it doesn't look correct. Like, it doesn't look like a real animal that could exist in the wild, the way that most Gen 1 Pokemon do kind of look like real animals that could exist in the wild. So, like, it looks engineered. It looks a little bit unusual, a little bit dangerous, and like the stats that it has as a legendary are reflected in the design. Like, it's holding out its hand because it's like telepathic, telekinetic. I think it gives off the vibe of a very strong, psychically powerful beast in a way that Alakazam doesn't necessarily for me. So like, even though it's again very popular because of how strong it is, I think that it's also popular because it has a stronger design than Alakazam and that whole line. Mew, I think, is very similar. Kind of ironic to put Mew and Mewtwo in the same tier. But I think Mew has a lot of good aspects to it. Pink is a great color. Pink is not necessarily the most, in Gen 1 you can see there's two yellow psychic types and there's two like purpley pinky psychic types. So like, I don't think they had really quite yet landed on like a really clear design language for what made a psychic type a psychic type. But like, Mew has a lot of good stuff. I think a big part of like the inflation of it in my brain just has to do with the rarity of it. that it's so annoying to come by. I know that there was a Toys R Us event when I was a kid where they distributed Mew, and then I accidentally deleted the save file after we waited in line for like an hour and a half at Toys R Us. And yeah, my siblings were pretty mad at me on that one. That's my bad. I own up to it. But yeah, I think the rarity of Mew makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more appealing than it might be just on its own design merits. But I also think that Mew is very cute. It does evoke like playful little cat that has like a little bit of spicy psychic energy to it. In its official artwork, it looks like it's like floating, levitating a little bit. Its tail is like spinning around in an interesting way. I don't know. I think I like it. I think there's a lot to like about it. I'm obviously a big fan of evolutions. I'm showing my bias. It is what it is. But I really like Espeon. I'm just so attached to it after all these years, and there is the statistical part that I'm not blind to, but also like it's an evolution, and like they're popular designs for a reason. I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but like it just works. It's a psychic type evolution. That is what a psychic type evolution should look like. 10 out of 10, no notes. And on this next one, I really need you to hear me out on this. Is Unknown pathetically weak? Does it only have access to hidden power, a move that is notoriously unreliable? And is it kind of just a dumb gimmick where, there's all 26 Roman letters and an exclamation point and a question mark? Yes, all of those things are true about Unknown. But I have to give it an S tier. There is every fiber of my being is crying out in my moral obligation to give Unknown an S tier. It's just the audacity of the design. Like the fact that it's just a bunch of floating letters, like that is brilliant, that is fun, that is silly and goofy in all of the best ways. I am here for Unknown, and I will defend its S tier placement to my dying breath. I will die on this hill. Wobbuffet I like a lot. It's kind of like a punching bag Pokemon. Its tail has the face thingy on it. And I just want to really quick pull up female Wobbuffet real quick, because look at her. She's beautiful. She is styling. She is doing her best. She is living her best life. Wobbuffet, very iconic in the anime also, how Team Rocket had the Wobbuffet and it would come out and be worthless like 99% of the time, but every now and then it would do something like really cool, and it's just like they don't understand how to make this thing work, and it's a really fun recurring gag, I think. Wobbuffet is like definitely like a comedy Pokemon. It's not so much designed to be like good or cool. It's designed to be funny, and I think it fundamentally achieves that goal in a very strong way. I like Wynaut. I could have done without Wynaut. I don't think that Wobbuffet particularly had a need for a pre-evolution for a baby form, but I'm not going to hold that against it. Wobbuffet it's an iconic design for good reason. Celebi. I got all of these images from Cerebi.net. Cerebi is the official romanization of the Japanese name for Celebi. It's cute. It's kind of an onion that's got psychic powers. In my TikTok upload preview of the tier lists, a lot of people said that Pokemon like Celebi probably should have been retconned to fairy type rather than psychic type. And Celebi, I am inclined to agree that it probably should have been a fairy type. I think it was made psychic type because that was kind of the closest thing to fairy type that they had at the time. But, in later generations when we had this new typing that they could give to it, I think that they probably should have. I'm not necessarily going to hold that against it because I do think that Celebi is a good design, but I think because it's not a fairy type, because it's just because psychic type just sort of feels stapled on to Celebi, I'm going to keep it B tier for now. Like it doesn't, I think fairy type is better suited to it than psychic type. Grumpig is a Pokemon that I like a lot, but I'm also not particularly attached to. Like, Spoink is very cute, you know, it bounces up and down on its little spring, and it's got the pearl on its head. And Grumpig, I feel like, is not an upgrade design-wise. Like, if all statistics were equal, then Spoink is the better design, and I would keep it a Spoink forever. But I'm not against Grumpig. I think that Grumpig is fine, and it kind of falls into, I guess, Gen 3 was when they finally decided that purple is the color of Psychic. Cool, that's fine. But yeah, look, I like Swinub, or not Swinub, I like Spoink and Grumpig. I don't know if I said Swinub earlier too. Spoink and Grumpig. You know, they have a lot to like about them, and I like the pig tail, how normally they're like little curly tails that pigs have anyways. I like that it's turned into like a spring that they can bounce on and move around and jump around. And like Psychic Pig, what's not to like? Chimecho is a very rare Pokemon that, because of its rareness and because of its relative weakness in battle, not a lot of people are very attached to it. I think the design is really strong, but I do want to draw special attention to Chingling, who I think is just absolutely adorable. I think Chingling is such a precious little baby, and like the cuteness of that design, I would probably consider Chingling to be a top 5 cutest Pokemon. I know that I've said that a lot already, and I'm probably running out of top 5 spots, but like Chingling holds a special place in my heart. Also, in the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, there was one time that I was playing and I got a Chingling like randomly added to my team in the middle of a dungeon, and it just had all of these like disruption, like hazard moves, like constrict, wrap, that kind of stuff, and it was just an absolute menace for the rest of the dungeon. I don't know why Chingling was as strong as it was in the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, but it could just wreck house if it wanted to. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. That's my personal bias. Latios and Latias they're the same Pokemon, just one is red and one is blue. You know, they're like siblings, like they're the brother and the sister. Like, I get all that, but like they're the same guy. Like they're definitively the same guy. So they're going to be rated in the same tier, but I do want to qualify it, because as much as they are just color swaps of the same Pokemon, I think it's a really strong base design that they're working off of, where like if it didn't work for me with Volbeat and Nilumize, which it didn't in the bug type tier list, it does work for me in Latios and Latias, because again, the base design is just so strong. They're like fighter jets that are, you know, psychic and dragon. They're very iconic in the competitive scene also for being absolutely busted with Soldew. And like I like, it feels silly to me to have them occupy 2 Pokedex spaces, but like it's not even the most egregious example in this type tier list. We'll get to it. But yeah, I like Latios and Latias. They're going to be bottom of A tier just because it's the same Pokemon but twice. But I think it's a really, really strong Pokemon to be but twice. Versus like a lot of similar duos and trios of different types and later on in the series. Like, they don't have as strong of a base design, so doubling them in the Pokedex just feels kind of silly and redundant. I mean, Gen 3 was, you know, they introduced double battles, and so they wanted to have a lot of like partner Pokemon that could like pair up together. But only Plusle and Minun actually complemented each other in battle. All of the others were just like the same, but in blue and red. And, you know, it's fine. It doesn't upset me, but it is what it is. Deoxys, I think, is cool because of all of the forms it has. Like, if it were just base Deoxys, it's kind of cool, but I don't really know what to do with it. But the fact that it can like have that active adaptability to it in the lore, where, you know, it can get super defensive and it can get super duper fast and super, super hard hitting. And then the base form is basically just like a worse version of the fast one and the strong one. I think that base Deoxys is fine, but it's in the alternate forms that it really shows everything that it has to offer. I think if I had to pick a favorite form, it would probably be Deoxys Defense, because I like the roundness of it, the like bulkiness of it, compared to the rest of the forms are all very like sleek and slender. I guess attack form has like the meaty hands that it can like transform into. But yeah, I don't have anything against Deoxys. Gen 3 is definitely where it's sort of like on that edge of when I started to really lose interest in a lot of legendary and mythical Pokemon. But yeah, I think there's a lot to like about Deoxys. It's kind of on that edge of over-designed, but I think enough about it works that I'm not going to be too upset about it. Gallade, I think, is very cool as a split evolution from Gardevoir. Gardevoir isn't in this tier list because it's already in the Fairy tier list. If you really want to see my thoughts on Gardevoir, go watch that one. But Gallade, because it's such a divergence from Gardevoir, I think that the contrast of it makes Gallade a lot more interesting to me than Gardevoir was. And like the scythe arm aspect to it, and the fact that it doesn't have as strong of an association with a particular kind of internet subculture, I think those things sort of elevate it for me. But if I'm being really honest with myself as I'm talking through it, I really can't rate Gallade any higher than B tier. Like, I like it, I think it's cool, but it's a little too humanoid, a little too odd for me. And it just doesn't quite work. So in Latios and Latias, I mentioned the same Pokemon, but twice. If only one of the lake spirits was in the game, if it was just one lake spirit that like had 3 alternate forms, or, if it was just one design, then I would probably like these guys. I would probably put them like B tier or A tier. But the fact that design-wise, from a pure design perspective, I know that statistically in battle they're very different, but from a pure design perspective, it's the same guy, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I hate that. It's so uncreative to me. And like literally from the neck down, they are 100% identical. Like, it's, I don't know, like, I don't understand what compels them to do this. Because like in previous generations that had like legendary trios, the legendary birds in Gen 1 had very like divergent and interesting designs. But like they were still unified around a central theme. And in Gen 2, they had the legendary beasts that, had divergent designs, but they were unified around a sort of central theme of being like sort of dogs, sort of cats, sort of gerbils. And then Gen 3 had the Regis, which, were their own thing, very cool, like divergent designs, but sharing very similar aspects in their language. And then the Lake Trio comes around in Gen 4, and it's just the same guy 3 times. It's just the same guy 3 times. And all of this rant has been to say that if it were only one of them, they'd probably be A or B tier. But because it's just the same guy 3 times, I cannot stand these Pokemon. They are D tier to me. Cresselia. Let's go to a much brighter note with Cresselia. I love the moon theming. I love, its parallels with Darkrai. Darkrai is dark type, so it won't be considered in this video. Did Cresselia get Fairy type when Fairy type was added, or am I imagining that? I don't want to go double check it right now. I think it's still a pure Psychic type. I think it might be a contender for Fairy type because, with Clefairy, there is already that strong moon association with the Fairy typing, and I think that Cresselia would be a fine addition to the Fairy type lineup. But as it stands, I love the moon theming. I love the pauldrons, I guess, I don't know what to call them, but the moon, the crescent moon scythe things. Like the fact that it's a Pokemon that is entirely composed of crescents is hilarious, but it like works and it looks cool. And again, it's parallels with Darkrai. I like Cresselia a lot. Gen 4 is the gen that I am least attached to personally. Like, it's the generation that I have the least experience with. But like, they have a lot of good designs. You know, I don't have anything against Cresselia. I think that it works. Victini is fine. It's cute. I feel like it's fine. You know, it's the requisite mythical Pokemon where it's just like a cute little guy that has a big old head and big old beady eyes. Like, it feels like Mew, but again. And like the fact that it's like number 0 in the Unova regional decks is like kind of a cool and silly gimmick. But like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a very inspired design to me. Like the V crest on its head is kind of cool, I guess, but I look at it and it's fine. I feel the same way about it as I feel about like Meloetta. Like, whenever I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing. That sure is a Pokemon, huh? Cool. I can live with that. Musharna, I like a lot. I like it a lot more than Victini. You know, the association with the Dream World, which was the big gimmick of Gen 5. It has a lot of the one cutscene early on in Black and White 1, where, you know, the Musharna appeared to save the Munna that was being beat up by the Team Plasma Grunts. You know, it's got a lot of personality to it, and like the story mode of Gen 5 sort of like invested a lot into the character development of Musharna, like what Musharna is actually like in the Pokemon world, how it like interacts with its surroundings. It makes it like very interesting and very like iconic to me for that time in the Pokemon community. A lot to like about it. A tier for me, top of A tier for me. A lot of strong positive feelings about this one. Swoobat is the inferior bat Pokemon, in my opinion. I like it, but it is the inferior bat Pokemon. Woobat is very cute, very small. It's like a little fuzzball, but with bat wings. I think that's a silly design. And Swoobat, I think, has a lot of good about it. Like, it kind of has like a pig type design. Like, it's got the big heart nose, and like Heart Stamp has its signature move. You know, it's got that association with friendship and happiness that I think really works. It is the inferior bat Pokemon, but that is by no means a diss. I would put it just under Musharna for me. Sigilyph, I love Sigilif's design. It is like it's a hieroglyph come to life as a Pokemon. It's so unusual. It's so off the wall. It's such a break from the general Pokemon design language, but in a way that's really intriguing and compelling to me. I've always really liked the design. I think that it transitioned to 3D very well when Pokemon made the jump to 3D. A lot of older designs ended up looking a little bit strange, and you would think that Sigilyph, for being what it is, wouldn't translate well into 3D, but I think that it made the shift really, really well, and the design elements that I liked about it in 2D still came through once it was a 3D model. Nothing but positive to say about Sigilyph. You know, it's got crazy color design, but like it's still cohesive, it's still coherent. Like, it's got a lot of different vibrant elements to it, but it still looks unified together. I really like Sigilyph. Gushing over. Gothitelle, nah. I could take it or leave it, honestly. Every time I see this thing, I think that it's supposed to be dark type. Like, the fact that they made it psychic type is just strange to me. Like, it really should be dark type. And like, that might be a little bit too on the nose for a Pokemon that literally has Goth in its name. But like, it literally has Goth in its name. Why is it not a dark type? And I know that like the Japanese name probably isn't the same. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese. But it has Goth in its name. Why is it not dark type? As the design in and of itself, I think Gothita is really cute. I think Gothorita the name of the middle one? I think it's fine. And Gothitelle is kind of like, it definitely lives in that like awkward middle evolution space where it's just like not really super necessary. It could have just been a 2-stage Pokemon, and I think it would have been fine. But yeah, I think it should be a dark type, but like as a design goes, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's perfectly competent. It's fine. Reuniclus, I think, is also kind of in that space of, what's the basic form? Why am I blanking on this? Solosis, I think, is a great basic Pokemon, and Reuniclus, I think, is a really good fully evolved Pokemon, and then Duozian is just sort of there. I feel very similarly to it and to Gothitelle, and the idea of an embryo and fetus Pokemon is weird. Let's just call it what it is. It is unusual design language for Pokemon to draw from, but if you get past the unusualness of it, then I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I think that it is weird and off-putting because of the thing that they chose to design, but it is a good version of the weird thing that they chose to design. So, B tier. Behem and LGM, they just don't work for me. Like, I'm just gonna say that flat out. Like, I get what they were going for, kind of, but these things look like they should be like rock type or ground type. They even if they are psychic type, they really should have some secondary typing to them. I think that they just don't work. I'd even put it below Hypno. They do not offend me in the way that the lake spirits offend me. Like I would consider it a C tier, but I don't really know what they were going for with this one. Like, it's an alien UFO thing kind of, but it's got an association with like light, I guess, kind of. I can't really make heads or tails of it. Feel free to disagree, but it's fine. Meowstic is what I think that a lot of the Gen 3 Pokemon should have been. The male form has these attributes and the female form has these other attributes, and you can use them together and they might complement each other pretty well, but they are still the same Pokemon. And like similar to Nidoking and Nidoqueen in Gen 1, they should have been, if Pokemon had been released after gender was like a central mechanic, then it probably would have been like Nidoran was one Pokemon and then it split off. I think that Meowstic is like the perfect version of having a Pokemon with a strong gender difference. The male and female have sort of an inverted color scheme. They have a lot of different personality elements to them, and like just like a minor thing, but I love the fact that the male Meowstic is like a support-oriented Pokemon, where the female Meowstic is like an offensive sweeper-oriented Pokemon, which is like the opposite of the designs that they go with in like every other male-female pairing. It's always like the male is like the aggressive attacker and the female is like the support or the defensive one. Again, they have it with Nidoking and Nidoqueen. They have it with Volbeat and Illumise, where physical versus special with those two. But Meowstic gets a lot of credit for me from doing the opposite, where the male is the support and the female is the sweeper. It gets a lot of credit for me for that. I don't know what to tell you. And obviously Esper is absolutely iconic in Gen 6 for its 1,000-yard stare. Strong A tier for me. Normally I haven't done alternate forms. There have only been a few Pokemon so far that have had alternate forms to talk about in the first place. But I did want to draw attention to Hoopa, because I think that Hoopa's little guy form is cute, and he's got a lot of personality, got a lot of interest to it. Little guy form, probably like middle-ish of A tier, right about there in A tier, I would say. Hoopa Unbound is gross to me. I don't like it at all. I wish that they hadn't. I get the inspiration with like the sort of like Southeast Asian sort of like Buddha kind of like. I'm not very familiar with that culture, and I apologize for the fact that I'm probably being very culturally insensitive right now. But like the one boss from Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, it's just that again, and like it has the association with the rings, but like little guy Hoopa, A tier design, big guy Hoopa, no thank you. Tapu Lele is probably the cutest of the Tapus. I think that out of all of the Tapus, I think that Tapu Lele is probably my favorite design. Either it or Tapu Fini. I think that they're both really good. And like I think that all the Tapus are good. Tapu Lele, it's cute. It's very pink. It's very like it's got the vibrant color scheme to it. And it shares the design language, again going back to the Lake Trio, because this is officially the Lake Trio hate tier list. The Tapus, the quartet of them, they share design language, they share similar design elements, but they do different and interesting things with them. The Tapus are like the perfect example of that. Second to the Regis, the Tapus are like the perfect example of like a legendary set having unifying design elements, but ultimately being separate entities. Like they are unified, but they are distinct. So yeah, Tapu Lele, A tier for me. Top of A tier. Not quite S tier. S tier is sacred with. It is what it is. Okay, so I separated Solgaleo and Lunala because they're different Pokemon. But I did want to bring attention to Cosmog, because I'm not going to have very nice things to say about the box legendaries, because I never do. But Cosmog is an S tier. Nebby should get back in the bag. And he should stay in the bag forever. Nebby, you absolute piece of garbage. You are an S tier. Solgaleo and Lunala, I don't like box legendaries on the whole, and I foreshadowed my willingness to be mean to them. But honestly, Solgaleo and Lunala don't bother me as much as a lot of the other box legendaries. Like Xerneas and Yveltal looked really, really dumb to me. Zacian and Zamazenta look really dumb to me. I don't want to get into spoilers for any others, but they're not that bad. Like they are very over designed, and they don't follow at all for me from Cosmog and Cosmoem, but they're fine. I'm not going to drop them all the way down to C tier, and I think that Lunala in particular is like a very cool design. I just think they have too much going on. Like they don't offend me as much as a lot of other box legendaries do, but I think they just have too much going. What is your name? What is your name? Necrozma. God. Necrozma, if we're talking about Duskmane or Dawnmane or Dawnwing, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the names of the alternate forms. If we're talking about those, I don't like them very much. C tier. Necrozma by itself, I would put it not A tier. I think A tier was too strong for me, but I would put it top of B tier. Like it's got the light refraction thing, like the fact that it is a prism Pokemon. Probably should have been a rock type instead of psychic type. I'm quibbling, but like it works, Like the prism Pokemon, how it's like kind of affiliated with the Ultra Beasts, but it's not an Ultra Beast, I don't think, in the official lore. I don't know. I'm not a Pokemon scientist. But yeah, it's fine. I like it. I like it enough. Hatterene is... Hattena's the baby. What's the middle one? I forget the names of a lot of the newer Pokemon. But, it's cute. I like the little ones more than I like the big one. The big one is a little bit too, like... a humanoid to me again, but like the little babies are cute. I really like the middle stage. I think the middle stage is probably the best one out of the three. It definitely docks some points for me for the final evolution being so humanoid, But the little guys are a lot of fun. I think, they've got that pastel color scheme going on. They've got, the sort of like psychic with like the thread of fairy sort of in the background along the way. And then like the big one is, it's still fine. It's not as like obviously off-putting to me as a lot of the other ones, but yeah, it's fine. I like the color scheme mostly. That is keeping it high. I'm gonna do I'm gonna save Calyrex. I don't ever want to end on a really bad note, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Indeedee is Galarian Audino. I cannot get over this. Indeedee and Audino are the same Pokemon. It was supposed to be a Galarian form, but they decided against it for some reason that I don't know why. They are the same Pokemon. They are a regional form. Again, I will die on this hill. That said, I like Audino well enough. Bottom of A tier. I'm gonna put it above Latios and Latios because of my resentment towards Copypastas. Indeedee probably should have been a Galarian form of Audino, and I'm gonna hold on to that belief until my dying breath. But like, I like Audino, so I like edgy goth teenage phase Audino. I like it. I don't know. It's an uncomplicated. It should have been a Galarian form, but I still like it. And Calyrex. Calyrex's stupid crown head thing. I just can't get over it. Like, I like the association with the horses, Glastrier and Shadowmere, whatever. I know that that's the Skyrim horse, but I don't remember the name of the other one. I like the association. I like the concept. It's just the stupid fat brain crown thing on the top of its head that it's just too goofy to me. And like hyper intelligent Pokemon I find kind of creepy, like the fact that it can like speak to you as though you're an equal human, like in the game, in the Crown Tundra DLC, like it talks to you, like it possesses the guy, and like talks to you through him. Like it is equal to humans in intelligence and probably greater than humans in intelligence. But you still catch it and use it as a Pokemon. That's kind of weird. I don't like it. And the design itself is also not good. I don't think. Again, from here down, it's fine. From here down, it's a B tier. But from here up, it is a definitive bottom of C tier for me. It's too silly, it's too goofy, and not in an endearing way. Very bold of me to still have Unknown at the top of S tier. I am fully aware of that. Hear me out. Unknown belongs there. And if you disagree, please don't hurt me. I know that I've probably potentially made a lot of enemies over the course of this tier list. I hope you at least understand my frustration with the Pokemon that I placed lower and can kind of get why I kept some Pokemon higher. I hope. Again, I don't want to measure my words. I stand by all of my rankings, but I know that I'm being a little bit controversial on this one. So let me know what you think. If you think that I deserve to be burned at the stake for my heresy, let me know in the comments. But if you agreed, if you enjoyed my takes, then please leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be doing more of these Pokemon tier lists up until the release of Scarlet and Violet, and probably several more after, depending on, my personal feelings about things. So yeah, please enjoy. Please understand that if I didn't like your favorite, then that's not an indictment against you. You're fine. You're doing great, and I'm very proud of you. But I gotta stick to my guns on this one. So thank you very much for watching if you managed to make it to the end, and I hope you have a wonderful day.